Our sermon this morning is in 3 parts with some songs in between. So, it's Easter, and it's 2020, and it's unlike any Easter that any of us have gone through before because we're not able to be here all together. Typically on Easter, we gather together, we sing together, we celebrate together, we rejoice in Jesus' resurrection together. It's a time of joy and laughter and chocolate and fun, but the world is a scarier and darker place than it was in years past. We cannot come together. We can encourage one another, but we can't do it in person the same way. While we know intellectually that this is a time to celebrate Jesus' resurrection, and we know we should be excited and thrilled, it's a little harder this year because we're all on our own, or with only those who are closest to us. We're very aware of the presence of evil in our world, and we struggle to make sense of that. So what is the good news of Easter for us in 2020? The good news is that Jesus has risen. And in Matthew's gospel, the invitation is to come and see in verses 6 and verse 9. The Christian claim for almost 2,000 years is that the Good Friday was not the end for Jesus. His body did not end up dead in a tomb. It didn't end up thrown out on a rubbish heap, or like many criminals of his time, simply lost. He arose. Jesus is alive. And if this claim is true, it's the most significant event in human history. Abraham never rose again. Moses never rose again. Muhammad never rose again. Buddha never rose again. Only Jesus rose from the dead. The challenge of history is that we can come and see. Objectively, we can seek historical evidence for the resurrection, and if that's what you need, there's some links in the printed version of the sermon, which is on the sermons page on our website, that link to some discussions by more academic people on evidence for the resurrection. We sometimes forget that people back in Jesus' day were just as surprised as we would be to hear of someone rising from the dead. Everybody in Jesus' world, like everybody in our world, knows perfectly well that dead people don't live again. People back then didn't think that, some people just got resurrected and Jesus just happened to be one of the lucky ones. They believed, as we do, that no one gets resurrected this side of eternity. Therefore, if Jesus did rise from the dead, their whole reality, their whole understanding of how everything works is being fundamentally altered once and for all. Christianity has been accused of stubbornly holding on to its belief in the resurrection of Jesus in spite of the facts. For, of course, resurrection is impossible according to scientific principles. That's precisely the point. The resurrection represents the staggering entry of the person and the power of God into time and space, and God acts in a way that mind-blowingly alters reality. The whole point of the resurrection is that it isn't natural. It isn't explainable. It is a miracle. This is God, the Creator, the one who created all of the world with all of its wonderful scientific principles, decisively stepping into his creation and fundamentally changing reality. Yes, God raising Jesus from the dead is impossible. So is an angel coming from heaven, going to the tomb and rolling back the stone. It's all impossible. Unless you're the one who created everything in the first place and who can rewrite the rules about how things work because you are the one who created those rules to begin with. The encouraging message for us this Easter is that God specializes in doing the impossible, giving us the courage to face impossible fears, giving us comfort to face impossible sorrows, giving us hope to face impossible loneliness, giving us inspiration to find meaning, purpose, and guidance in impossible situations. Michael Card sings a beautiful song that reminds us that because Jesus rose from the dead, we can have hope, even in the midst of a time like this, when we're separated, when we're lonely, when we're struggling, when we're afraid. Jesus arose, and that gives us hope.